Hey everybody, welcome back to the college application process for rising seniors and anyone else who wants to know. If you've watched the prior 10 episodes, you're probably tired of me saying that at the beginning, but I just kind of want to let you know what you're tuning into. So we have finished 10 of the episodes in this series, and we're ready to move on to number 11, which is a fun one. Part 11 is the college search, common and unusual tools to help you find your school. So I am going to right away get out of the PowerPoint and go straight to the web content, and I am going to head into the College Board website. Now, when you were a freshman, we probably introduced this page to you when we helped you sign up for an account, and good chance that most of you have probably put that knowledge somewhere in the back recesses of your brain. But now that you are at that point where you're trying to dig into what's out there, when you go on to the college search page on collegeboard.org and you find out that there's 3,711 colleges in this database, how on earth are you going to narrow it down? So we have to try to figure out how we're going to do that. Now, when mom and dad were your age, they would have had to go into the guidance office and borrow this really big, thick catalog that had all of this information in it. And to be totally honest, the vast majority of us would just limit it to something that was nearby, something that was a known option. But there are so many good options out there. Some of them are not going to be immediately recognizable names, but they're still great schools. And unless you do a search like this one, you might never get the opportunity to even consider it. So what I like about this search tool is that there are these filters over on the side that's going to help us take these 3,711 schools and narrow them down to a manageable list that you'll be able to research further. So for example, if you know your test scores, you can click in here and you can tell the filter to say, okay, I got a 650 on my SAT math. And right up here, look, it just took away 78 schools off the list. It just said, nope, not good. All right, not gonna match them. And then you got let's say you got a 700 on your reading and writing, and it added 65 schools back in because that's a wicked good score. You can also tell it to narrow the list by selectivity. If you want to just at first do a search on the most selective schools or very selective schools, and this shows you how they're breaking it down. Most selective means that fewer than 1 in 4 applicants actually get accepted into the school. All of your Ivy Leagues, MIT, Stanford, places like Duke and Georgetown are in the most selective category. Very selective schools, are schools that are probably in the Boston College and Northeastern range. Somewhat selective, these are probably schools that are private schools that have a limited amount of space but get a lot of applicants. Less selective would be a school like the University of Maine. They have a certain amount of space, and really that's the only thing that limits them in their acceptances. Open admission, that's a school that has plenty of room to accept everybody that applies, and as long as you meet the admission requirements, you're in. So you can set a selectivity level there, and you can see that if we say most, and one of the tricks of this is you can't say very selective and have that include everything above that. You have to select every category. So look, now we're down to 263 schools. You can close the search, and you could start looking through each one of these schools at that particular point. Now we can do these filters a little bit more. If you're clearly going to go to a 4-year university, you would click that one. All right, that eliminated 12 schools off the list. If you're interested in public schools or private schools, I would do that. We're down to 246 schools. I would, at this point in time, eliminate any for-profit schools. Before you consider any for-profit schools, you should exhaust your options in public and private schools. We'll talk about the for-profit schools in a little bit later episode when we talk about do's and don'ts and things to watch out for. If you want a school that is co-ed, that has co-ed, that has men and women on campus, then you can do that. If you want to limit your school by medium or large schools, and you don't want to go to like a small school. So now we're down to 139 schools, and once again, you can cut out of the filter, and you can see the list of schools that starts to narrow down. A popular way of selecting a filter is by state or region. So you can open up this list and you can pick a region of the country. So typically around here, a lot of students will choose Mid-Atlantic and New England. Some will even add the South, which is the Southeast. So if you wanted to add a state like Florida, Georgia, or the Carolinas, you would have to add the South in as well. Southwest would be Texas, Arizona. The West would be California, Colorado, and things like that. So let's see what we've got now when we add just New England and the Mid-Atlantic. Now we're down to 61. So you can see the list getting a little bit smaller. What is the setting? Rural would be a school like the University of Maine at Fort Kent, or the University of Maine at Presque Isle, or University of Maine at Farmington. Suburban would be in an area that is close to a major city, but maybe a little bit outside of it. And urban would be a school that is in Boston, in New York, or in Washington. So if you say, well, I want to go somewhere where there's some action, where there's a few more people, you could do suburban and urban and just leave out rural. You want to live in a campus where most of the students are on campus. On-housing campus is guaranteed for first-year students, and other options. If your transportation is going to be by car, you have to know that freshmen my disk space is getting full. You have to know that you're going to be able to get to and from. So we do that, and now we find that our options are down to 40. So we're getting really close. Majors. What if you want to major in international relations and affairs? That's a very specific major, and let's see how many we have left. We have 24. Now you have a pretty good working list. You could even add in paying, and you could say, okay, how much of my financial need will be met? Let's crank it right up and say 100%. We're now down to 8. So these are the 8 schools that meet that criteria. Move me out of the way. And you could start to explore each of them further. You could click into one of these universities. And up pops a summary of Georgetown University. You can look at all of the requirements for applying. You can see that it is a most selective school. You can look up all of the information about paying for an out-of-state student. It's a private university, so it won't matter. How to get financial aid. All of these things are included in the College Board website. This is the most useful tool that you are going to find anywhere to help you with your college search. There are others. I want to show you. I believe it's collegeraptor.com. And this is, they also have a college match tool. And one of the things that College Raptor will do, it'll do a lot of the same stuff that the College Board search will do, but it'll also kind of blend the net price calculator with the college search so that you can also find ones that would be good matches for your financial situation. It also blends in your grades, so you can have a better sense of merit-based financial aid and things like that you're going to be able to get, as well as your odds of acceptance based on your grades. A school like Georgetown is extremely difficult to get into, and so maybe one of the questions you're asking yourself right off the bat is, can I get in? Do I have the grades to get into a prestigious school? And the answer that you'll get from College Raptor is it'll tell you if you're a shoo-in, if it's a reach, anything like that. I'm not going into College Raptor right now because I don't have an account for that. You have to set up a student account. It's free, but it's a pretty good tool to use as well. Something that I used when my son was looking for colleges. I want to throw another option out there, and this may sound a little bit weird, but the way to find other schools that are similar to a school that you may have on your list is to go to a school that you know. In this case, I'm using Boston University. Go to their athletics page. Doesn't matter if you're an athlete, but if you're looking for similar schools, one of the easiest ways to find them is on the schedule of one of the sports teams. Pick one of the big ones, like basketball or football, that has a broader appeal to a lot more people, and you'll find other similar schools. You could also look up if you know the name of the conference that they play in. Boston University plays in the Patriot League, and what you see on their schedule is a list of colleges that are like them, and you could pick those up. Like Colgate, Boston University, and men's basketball played them in the championship game of their conference, and so you could actually then go to Colgate's website and find out where it is and learn a little bit more about it. Bucknell, the Naval Academy is a little bit of a different category. Lehigh is a school that I'm familiar with that I really like a lot in Pennsylvania. American is in Washington, D.C. So you could start to just thumb through some of these other similar schools. It's really helpful to know when you're thinking about Colby, Bates, and Bowdoin, for example. In Maine, we tend to know a lot about Colby, Bates, and Bowdoin. They're little Ivies. They're elite schools that carry a lot of prestige. But there's a lot of other schools that are comparable to Colby, Bates, and Bowdoin, so you don't have to stay in Maine in order to access a school like that. Maybe a Hamilton or a Williams College would be something that you would stumble across if you were to look at Bowdoin's ice hockey schedule. So you don't have to, again, it's not so that you're looking for athletics, it's just that you're looking for schools that fall into a similar category. And one last thing that I'd like for you to consider as you're doing your college search is good old-fashioned Google Maps. Here we are in Bangor, Maine, but if you wanted to dig into the Washington, D.C. area and you were researching a little bit about George Washington University, I'm going to pick it out because it's where my son goes, and I can go right to it and show you a little bit about what we did when we were first examining it and having to make a decision on which school to go to. So here you have the northwest quadrant of Washington, D.C. It's where the White House is, and the Washington Monument, the Lincoln Memorial, and the Capitol Building. George Washington University is right in this neighborhood. It's called Foggy Bottom, region of Washington, D.C., and our son majored in international affairs and went to the Elliott School. So one of the things that I like about, and his freshman year he lived in Thurston Hall. So what I love about Google Maps is we can use Street View, and right there, it's kind of unfortunate. There's a police car parked in front of the dorm right there when the Google car went by. But that is what the dorm looks like that he lived in as a freshman. And if you continued right down this street, F Street goes all the way to this building, which is called the Eisenhower Building. And if you were to go around the other side of this building, you'd be standing in front of the White House. So it gives you a chance to look around town. You can see in the distance there, you can see the Washington Monument, and realize just how close to everything you are. And the Google car is a random sample, isn't it? It's just driving through and it's taking these pictures so you can see what's going on. And you can get a remote feeling for what it's like to literally walk down the street next to the school that you might be going to. So, be thinking about these kinds of things. Once again, collegeraptor.com is a great website to help you with a college search. collegeboard.org. If you want to use that website, you can save your searches right in your College Board account, and it can be really helpful that way. And again, don't be afraid to use things like a sports schedule from a college that you do know to find other schools that you may not know about but may fall into a similar category. So with that said, I hope this was helpful to get you motivated to dig in and do those searches. And remember, the sooner you start with these college searches and you spread out the search and you take a little more time, I know with COVID-19 it's going to be pretty difficult for you to make any kinds of visits to schools, so you have to rely a lot more on the virtual search. If you give yourself a little more time in terms of the calendar, the process will be a lot more enjoyable, and you'll have time to consider more options. So jump right into that this summer, and don't wait until September when you get busy again with school. So again, I hope this was informative, and I hope you enjoyed episode 11, and we'll see you again soon for episode 12. Have a great day.